Did you know they made a Harry Potter movie dedicated to the Muggles? Peter Pettigrew, Bellatrix Lestrange, and Albus Dumbledore are in this movie. It's day 115 of 365. Today's movie, The King's Speech. Directed by Tom Hooper and starring Colin Firth, Helena Bonham Carter, and Geoffrey Rush, who we just saw in A Warrior's Way, so crazy we get to see him this soon again. Beyond the actors of the characters that I named at the top, this movie shares many crew members with the Harry Potter films as well. If you want to call this a technical Muggle movie, I would not hold it against you. It's kind of fun to imagine them all in like Muggle disguises during this earlier period. Yeah, it's not chronologically correct, but they have time turners. We can make this work. Not only that, but the narrator of the Harry Potter audiobooks is also in this movie. It's worth looking up. I saw this one early day in the year of 2011 as basically Oscar bait. This was my first running Oscar pool when I was working at Best Buy, and I wanted to go see the movies that were on the list if I got an opportunity to. Everyone called me crazy when I marked this one for Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, and Best Picture. They said there was no way it was gonna sweep like that. But who fucking called it? I did. Now, I knew it was gonna sweep because it's about stuffy white people overcoming their inability of feeling heard or seen. This is a self-victimizing wet dream. But if we're being honest, the Oscars So White thing kind of starts here too, because all of the movies that were up for Best Picture that year are basically running with that theme. Because of this, for my rewatch in 2025, I was expecting to not enjoy the movie, and color me surprised when I found it's actually really good outside of all of the Oscar stuff. That being said, let's jump into the 3 things that I really enjoyed about The King's Speech. The first thing that I really love about The King's Speech is the cinematography. Now, this may have been lost on some people, and I totally understand if it was. But in our first scene between Colin Firth and Geoffrey Rush, when they first meet, it sets up the cinematography of the film. Anytime they're in dialogue with each other, Colin Firth is framed on the left side of the screen, and Geoffrey Rush is framed on the right. This runs across the movie through many of their dialogue scenes, contrasting the two of them through the middle parallel. This is simple yet effective visual language. It's really, really easy for the audience to pick up on this if you're starting to look for it. As it flashes between the two of them, instead of doing over-the-shoulder shots like a normal dialogue scene, we're instead presenting with these like portrait-style versions, which is very telling for the time and era that they're talking about here. This is a switch from portraits into photography. And even think about a king's setting. Walking around a castle, you're gonna see mostly portraits from the past, and they're trying to portraitize this man as a king as well. When you get to the end of the movie, however, the final shots of the film have Colin Firth in the center and then push him over to the right. And then we cut to Geoffrey Rush, who's now framed on the left. Their characters have swapped as the power position swaps between them as well. This is so excellent. It was totally crazy that I didn't catch it my first time, and so seeing it on this second rewatch in 2025, I was blown away at the language that was being used here. It's simple, it's subtle, it's easy to do. You could do it in your own home movie and it would be excellent too. It's a really cool trick to grab if you're a filmmaker. Just making sure it makes sense for your movie overall to frame them in this way. There's multiple layers to what's happening in the cinematography, with the simplicity of swapping them from one side to the other. Oh, I love it. It's so good, and it happens during one of his final speeches in a movie called The King's Speech. Now that's putting a hat on it if I've ever heard one. The second thing that I really love about this movie is within that first meeting scene between the two of them as well. This is a multi-layered, long dialogue sequence where we're not only learning things about each character, but we're learning about the ways in which they're going to be interacting across the whole movie. We're building a dialogue cinema language in one entire scene. There's stuff that gets set up here that won't pay off until the very end. There are things that happen in this scene that pay off in the very immediate other scenes to launch us into the plot of our movie. And everything that happens here is just so cool and so clever. There are so many things happening within speech therapy that are being highlighted here as to show the reasons why. The therapy part of this, where he's so impertinent about it becoming personal, makes sense when you understand it's that resistance that's causing his stutter. But not only that, it's the trauma that caused him to get the stutter in the first place, and that's what Geoffrey Rush is trying to dive into across the movie. He's keenly aware of this from the get-go, and so he knows the end goal from the start of the film and is trying to get our main character there, but a keen-eyed audience member who's picking up on all the levels of what's happening can understand this is a microcosm of the whole movie. A really excellent film will have a short film set within it. If you clip off the beginning and the rest of the movie and only watch this scene, yeah, you won't have this success montage that you get later on. You won't get to see him deliver a really powerful message by the end of the film, but you will see the character struggle of what's going to happen across the movie executed in such a perfect way that by the time he exits, yeah, it feels like maybe it's not a success, but we know as the audience that it is, because there's no reason not to believe Geoffrey Rush's character. The third thing that I really dig about this movie is that it's a biographical drama that feels more like a movie than a documentary. Biographies end up being way too much. They often tell a story of someone's entire life. Patrick Willems has a great video essay about what's wrong with the modern biographical movie. Once you've seen Dewey Cox Walk Hard, you can't unsee that they all have the same general setup, editing, format, everything. The King's Speech instead decides to focus in on a singular point. That's the perfect way to do a biography, a shortened window into someone's life that kind of explains a lot about them. The fact that his stutter stems from his childhood doesn't mean we have to go back and see the events that led to it. That's a little too on the nose. And this movie instead seems to hint at those things and instead leave it up to the interpretation of the person. If you're invested in his story, you're going to read more about it. It's historical. You can find these things out. From there, most biographies tend to go all the way to the end of someone's life. This movie's not interested in that either. We know the outcome from there. Again, if you're into history, these are things that you're aware of. So the focusing in on a specific point kind of allows his life to speak for itself. And I love that, and it also gives us a chance to turn this chunk of his life into a movie. There's a rise and fall in action that we can track throughout. Will he be able to deliver his speech or not? That's a great question if you're not familiar with early era radio speeches from England. But even if you know the outcome, you're here for the roller coaster ride, and that's the fun. You know that the thing for him to overcome is himself. And so when we see him try and fail, that sets us up to want to see more, to want to see his victory eventually. Everyone loves an underdog. And when you have a charismatic character like Geoffrey Rush next to him the whole time cheering for him, you're going to cheer along with that. He's the audience POV, and Colin Firth gets to then play into this amazing performance. The scene just before he delivers his speech, where he's practicing it and implementing all the things he had learned across the last months, that's some of the best acting that you can see in a movie. That's so difficult, even more difficult than the grandioseness that he has to bring to the speech at the end is the pre-speech for him as an actor. That's impossible to do the singing and the fuck-ups and the cursing and all of that within one take for a lot of it. Oh my God, Colin Firth is absolutely fantastic just for that one little section where we're playing out everything we've seen in the movie so far. Like I said earlier, you can take his introduction to Geoffrey Rush's character as one little short film, but if you were gonna pair it with anything else, you'd pair it with that. You could skip all the way to that scene and see the success of everything he's learned in speech therapy being played out to get him out of his own head and able to speak eloquently for his country. But what do you think? Are you a fan of this movie, or was it just Oscar bait for you because it swept that year? If this topic matter was too serious for you, we're leaving this for just a fun little fuck around rom-com. We're talking about No Strings Attached next, and I'll see you tomorrow.